Welcome inside Black and Gold, everyone. Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak coming at you with another edition as we get set for, I guess, a lot more draft talk coming up in the next coming weeks. We got a little more, I guess, the second or later wave of free agency, you could say right now. But man, oh man, lots of excitement over what the Black and Gold were able to haul in the initial free agency period. And it obviously, Jeff, we got a chance to talk to everybody too.
Yeah, I don't know what I expected from the Saints throughout that whole week. I was kind of on the fence of like, how aggressive are they going to be? What are they going to do? Are they going to play at the top of the market? Are they going to play in the middle of the market? But whatever my expectations were completely blown out of the water by how much they actually got done. Right? You signed a punter, you signed a guard, you signed a running back, you signed a tight end. Am I missing one? Believe him. Oh, you signed a linebacker in Caden Ellis, a return. You know, the homecoming narrative is continuing. You got Travis Etienne coming home. I think I got it. First try. I'm going to go back and forth. You'll hear me go back and forth between Etienne and Etienne, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my darndest to say Travis Etienne. But yeah, a lot going on. You also re-signed Dylan Radins. And as you mentioned, we got to talk. We got exclusive interviews with everyone and the head coach. So we'll be playing those interviews for you over the next few podcasts as we kind of filter them in. But we're going to talk about a few of them today. And yeah, it ended up being a very busy week for everyone involved, for the Saints, for us, especially for the social media team. But yeah, no, it's exciting. I'm excited. I think that's the word we heard a lot. Excitement, direction. Like this team feels like it's headed in the right direction. Confidence. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the vibe that I've gotten from everyone else around the team and fans talking about the team. I don't know what you would say about that, but yeah.
And I think we also appreciated the pretty blunt honesty from a guy like Noah Fant on why he didn't come to New Orleans last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that interview more, but like, it's very clear that the Tyler Shuck sales pitch is a real thing. And we'll get into that. This episode, we're going to do kind of a rundown. We're going to talk about all the things that happened this week. The last episode we did was prior to the Caden Ellis signing, so we'll talk about that. A lot of things happened, a lot of kind of moving parts. We'll get into that. We'll talk about, okay, what's the latest with Cam Jordan? Nothing. Takeaways from these interviews, anything that stood out. Then the second segment will be our one-on-one interview with Travis Etienne, who in the interview I call Etienne because prior to that interview he had said, hey, call me Etienne. And then he went downstairs and said, call me Etienne. So anyway, we'll get into it. But that's going to be the second interview. And then we'll, as I said, our next episode, we'll get into probably either David Edwards or Caden Ellis. And it'll just be an opportunity to kind of filter those out as we go. And then the final segment, we're going to break down, all right, free agency, you addressed a bunch of needs. What are the remaining needs, and how are we going to rank them? It'll be kind of a follow-up on the episode we did a few weeks back where we kind of ranked all of the needs. Well, now that you've addressed a handful of them, where do the rest of them stand? But we'll get into all that. But Steve, how are you feeling? You staying warm? It's like 40 degrees right now, and I'm trying to decide whether to turn my heat back on for the 9th time. But
it's totally the wild, wacky weather's everywhere too, just because LSU baseball, they were just playing ball this weekend in Nashville, but they got stuck there because of the weather issues. And so the Jay Johnson show is canceled for Monday.
Oh no. What am I going to do? How am I going to get through the night? No, it's windy. It's wild. I'm glad there's no football being played. But we'll go right back into it. But all right, let's hit a break and we'll come back with some of the news that happened. Yes, we're going to talk about some banana ball, even, the little yellow bananas and the Savannas and the Superdome, all that good stuff. Yeah. All right. Who dat? Subscribe. We'll be right back. And we are back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller coming at you a week after the start of NFL free agency. We're going to dive into a lot of that. But first, Steve, how do you feel about the Savannah Bananas, but more importantly, the quarterback bananas.
I'm not a fan of Savannah Banana baseball. It had no interest for me, but I do recognize the phenomenal pull that they have in the crowd was absolutely off the chain there for the Superdome for 2 straight days. And yeah, you got Tyler Shuck and Drew Brees involved. So maybe I'm the lame-o. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to appreciate it more just in how this whole weekend operated, in that if they just came and played the game and did their shtick and left, that would be one thing. Like, they incorporate a lot of the community into the show itself, which is kind of cool. As you mentioned on Saturday, you had Tyler Shuck out there. He actually completed what looked like a pretty long flag route or comeback route, like back shoulder fade going on, which was a nice adjustment by the baseball player receiver, I will say. And then on Sunday, we got Mr. Drew Brees himself actually taking an at bat. I believe he grounded out. But this was sent to me by friends who went to the game. It's so wild to see a baseball diamond.
Jeff, the Savannah Bananas, no joke, pack out the dome more than the Saints have.
Oh, it was great. I mean, like, they talk about how they still have these stadiums, and yeah, it's not a joke. I mean, that is 70,000 people in that building. That's the busiest I've seen the Superdome. And they're all decked out. They all got the gear. I don't know where they all come from.
Yeah. I'm not in that number, but I recognize the numbers that the Bananas pull, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue it. You can't argue. Like, people can be like, "Oh, it's not real baseball. It's whatever." But like, if you could sell out a 70,000 seat stadium, it doesn't matter whether it's real baseball.
Whatever it is.
Like, geez. Anyway, so it was cool to see Drew and Tyler go out there, and I do think that, like, just if this was here 2 years ago, is Derek Carr out there repping the city at a Savannah Bananas game?
I don't believe so, just because he definitely is Mr. West Coast until it was time for him to come for camp.
Yeah, and I get it, right? He was a mercenary basically, and that, but like, it is that was a lot of the frustration, is you had a quarterback who wasn't embracing the city and doing all of these kind of side quests that are part of being the Saints starting quarterback. And you know, if they had won games, if they had made the playoffs like Aaron Rodgers did for the Steelers this year, I don't know, is the relationship a little different? I don't know, but like, that's why it's cool to see this offseason in particular, and seeing Tyler Shuck kind of doing everything that he's supposed to be doing to embrace the city. And he's in a Mardi Gras parade, and he's doing all this, and he's going all these interviews. He's out to eat. He's, you know, like, there's just this level of culture absorption going on with Tyler that I feel like you got from Brees way back in 2006. And it's obviously winning games is the biggest part of that, but you get a little grace. If he comes out and struggles the first 3-4 weeks of next season, he's going to get grace because everyone's in love with the kid.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just another part of that.
No, and I think there was like the littlest of windows of like embracement of Derek Carr here. It was like when he started busting out the Michael Jackson moves, I think folks were like, maybe, okay. Kind of, sort of, maybe. It's all winning, right? Like, if they had yeah, right.
If they had won 11 games and made the playoffs, and people would be like, I still don't like him, but at least we had a fun season out of it, right? Like, and then once it's losing, it's like, well, what are we getting out of this? You know, if you're at least getting like a culture bearer out of the deal, and you're like, okay, we'll give him a year, we'll see if he can figure it out. That just was never the case. And all that is, like, I don't need to sit here and talk about Derek Carr. No one's talking about Derek Carr. No one's asking to trade for him. I think at this point, you kind of look at it and say, mid-season, if you end up in a situation like the Colts were in, right, last year, are they going to sign 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, or are they trading for Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Like, if Derek Carr was an option last year, is he the guy who showed up mid-season for the Colts rather than Phillip Rivers? Probably, right? Because I think if you're the Colts last year and you understand, hey, we have a team that can get to the playoffs, we just need someone to show up and win a couple games, you'd be willing to trade probably a 5th round pick to try to get that done.
I'm still hoping that ends up being in the works. Whether it's a pick this year or next year, I'll take it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to be this year, but
right.
I think that's kind of the target right now for me is like, if there's a quarterback injury for a team that feels like they're a contender and they just need kind of a 1-year mercenary where they're willing to trade a 5th round pick, one moderately used Derek Carr can be yours. Anyway,
Minnesota is still a very interesting situation to me there.
They signed Kyler.
I know. I'm still not gaga over Kyler Murray.
I'm not either, but that they're not going to go after Derek after signing Kyler. That wouldn't make sense. I'm
saying if something happens to one of those two quarterbacks, you go, maybe. I don't know.
I think something would have to happen to both of those quarterbacks, which is why it feels unlikely, right? If they had just stuck with JJ, that's one thing. I don't know. It's the same thing with like Tua in Atlanta, right? Like, well, they got one guy who they can play, and then the other guy shows up, but like that's going to be their season one way or the other. You know, the Jets traded for Geno, so like that's kind of their situation. They traded Justin Fields to the Chiefs today.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of an interesting situation there. But
I guess too, there's also what ends up happening with Kirk Cousins because he's not retired.
No, it doesn't sound like there's a ton of, Arizona is the only team out there that still seems to need a quarterback.
Yeah.
I guess Pittsburgh could, but it sounds like I'd be surprised if Aaron Rodgers retired, but they
feel like if he was going to, he would have let them know that already.
Like Aaron Rodgers is more than happy to retire at the last second and leave the team high and dry. Like I don't buy for a second that he would be like, I'm going to be a team guy. Like he's out for himself 100%. But either way, let's shift things back to the Saints here. So a couple other things happened. We saw Charlie Smith in the Irish Channel marching parade. That was cool. He told everyone what a crack is. Crake. I guess it's an Irish thing. Someone will have to inform me. He didn't wear a kilt, which I don't know. You'll have to explain that.
I needed to see a video of Charlie pouring a Guinness out there.
Yeah, I'm sure he got wasted. But that's the time of year, man. If you're ever going to get wasted, do it now. One other kind of small piece of news: Kool-Aid McKinstry said on Instagram that he's going to be changing his number for a 3rd time. Which is really a 4th time if you include the number 34 he wore in his initial preseason. And he's going to go back to the number 1, which he wore at Alabama. Initially, I thought Travis Etienne would come in and wear number 1 because that's what he wore with Jacksonville, but he said he wants to wear number 3.
Right.
So I guess number 1 is up for grabs for Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess flexing his muscles too as that number 1 guy in the secondary.
Yeah, but my understanding was like if you change numbers, you have to buy out the stock of your jersey. Like that's part of the consequence of changing numbers. So it's like not a cheap decision to make. And he's now done it 3 times because he started in 34 for his first preseason, ended up wearing 14 as a rookie, and then last year changed to number 4, which was vacated by Derek Carr, and now he's in number 1. So if you've bought a Kool-Aid jersey prior to this year, you will be wearing the wrong number.
After last season, number. He was like, man, I can't wear this. After Derek Carr wore this number, I don't know what I was thinking.
I thought the 4 looked good on him. I thought he was going to stick in number 4 because I also thought A-Chain was going to come in and wear number 1.
No, he's like, Alante's out. I'm jumping on that number 1.
Yeah. And apparently Travis just had no interest in the number 1. He was just like, yeah, F that. Like, I'm done with it. But the reason behind number 3 isn't good either because he basically was like, it's my 3rd team. Because I guess he's counting Clemson where he wore, what number did he wear at Clemson? Oh, he wore 9 at Clemson. And that's a Drew Brees thing.
So he doesn't have any kind of affinity towards any number then. He's like, I need to have this.
Apparently not.
He's like, well, I'll do number 3 now, whatever.
Yeah, the Bobby Hebert number. Last worn by Jake Haener. So
there you go. Bobby will be happy then. His numbers repping, hopefully a running back that's producing.
Yeah. He was all excited about Jake the Snake, and then Jake the mistake. No, I don't. Jake's fine. Jake is who Jake is.
I'm curious to see him battling things out in Kansas City to be that guy. With obviously Mahomes, healing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you think it's going to be a competition between him and Justin Fields. I can't think of 2 different quarterbacks.
I'm hoping Jake gives him a run for his money. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Justin's not good, but I do think that Justin Fields is actually a very viable backup quarterback, because when you're in it's kind of like when Taysom Hill came in and took over midseason for Drew, and it was like, you can run a very limited version of this offense, which would be the case whether it was, name a backup quarterback, name an Andy Dalton or whatever, whoever you're bringing in, you're going to be running a very limited version of your offense. And it's honestly, when you get to that stage, having a guy who can run around and give you a baseline of like, you can run for a first down, he can possess the ball, you can shorten this game. Like there's a reason you were able to win 9-0 in Tampa Bay, right? Like you shortened that game as much as you could. You uglied it up, and it's not a bad option to have. I don't think he's a starter, Justin Fields or Taysom, but that's not a terrible thing to have in the quarterback room. So all that is to say, like, I understand why the Chiefs made that trade. Because even last year with the Steelers, or 2 years ago with the Steelers, like Justin Fields was doing fine when he was starting, and then but they wanted a higher ceiling, so they went with Russ, and that is what it is. Yeah,
there's so many quarterback situations that I am happy that are not the Saints, man. You look at, hopefully, we've seen 1 year of Tyler Shuck now, and he seems to be that dude, but there's so many teams out there that don't have that dude. It's very clear that do not have that guy. And we're talking about Kansas City, though. Mahomes still coming back from injury, but yeah, I mean, having that backup guy is no easy feat either. I mean, you love to have a guy like Andy Dalton, I feel like, as your number two.
No, and I think this offseason for the Saints really kind of underscored how much easier it is to GM when you have a quarterback and you have cap space.
Amazing.
It's like playing on easy mode. It's like changing from like all Madden to easy mode, and we're like, okay, yeah, we can do this. Oh, we need that. Okay, go get it.
Right.
And it is always funny to me every year. It always kind of astonishes me. A lot of these really smart football people, like people I go to for football insight, the guys from Reception Perception, so Matt Harmon and James Coe, right? I just got around to listening to their NFC South preview, which was like 2 weeks ago prior to free agency, but I got to it like last Friday. And the funny thing is, like, so much of their stuff is like right on point. Like I agree with so much of it. Like they have a lot of research and it all makes sense. And then they get to like the salary cap, and it's just like, oh, the Saints can't do anything. They have no money. They're going to have to draft, and they can't do this. They can't do this. And then like 3 days later, they're like the fifth highest spending team, and they've brought in all these free agents. And it's like so many people who I trust analytically on football topics know nothing about the salary cap and how you manage the money and how you can push it around. And because they were under the assumption that the Saints were just going to sit there and not sign anybody because they couldn't. And I was like, well,
that was, though, the amazing thing that they did do. They pulled off one of the top running backs and one of the top guards, and it was like, bam, bam, needed it, got it.
Well, right. Not only did they spend money,
right,
they spent at the top of the market. And if you kind of,
I guess, pretty good punter money they spend too.
Yes, they spent at the top 4 years, 13-14 million for a punter.
Right.
We talked to Ryan, right? And the funny thing about Ryan is he always gets these questions. Oh, why'd you want to be here? Why'd you want to be here? And I know he struggled with it a little bit because he didn't have an answer. Because his answer is, they paid me a heck of a lot of money as a punter. You make 3.5 mil as a punter. I didn't mean to put that thumbs up bubble, but it's there. Like that's you saying we're investing in a punter, and not every team is willing to do that, right? I don't think the Vikings thought he was going to leave, and then the Saints were like, "Oh, we'll pay for this privilege."
That was definitely, to me, and obviously they addressed it. Was one of those needs. They had to do something. It wasn't working since Thomas Morstead left.
Yeah. With
whoever came in here for whatever reason, and this is a guy that has the quote unquote skins on the wall. You're not bringing that in anybody that's green to being a punter in the NFL.
No, and he is an NFL punter. It is no longer we're trying to find someone. And he even talked about this. I asked him about this. We'll play that interview eventually. Like, it's like, why were you at your best last season? I asked him that, and he basically was like, well, because by year 4, I've figured everything out. Not that I'm not getting better, but I'm not going out there saying, oh, what if I try this? What if I try this? Like, I know exactly what I have to do. I know how I do it. And now I'm just refining that. And you don't get that in year 1. You don't get that even in year 2, probably. It takes like year 3, 4 before you feel like, oh, I've got this down. And the Saints paid for the privilege to skip over that entirely. Right. And whether it makes the most financial sense, we've seen the alternative. And it's not pretty. Like, occasionally you'll luck into a guy who's ready day 1, but it's a lot rarer than it seems. But just kind of looping back around, like, the Saints had money. A lot of people probably looked at them and said they can't spend at this level because they don't have the flexibility. And they were like, no, we've got it. And if you understand how the whole situation kind of navigates, you could have seen this coming. Now, the only question was whether they wanted to do it this year, whether they wanted to kind of hold their water and focus on next year. And it's very clear that the decision was made early on. Like, no, we're going in. We're not going all in, but we're going in.
They were definitely aggressive. And like I said, to come away with, I guess you say top punter even options. Like I said, punter, guard, and running backs. You were at the peak of that market in each of those. I did not expect that from this team for sure.
No, and even linebacker, like, they spent more at linebacker than I expected. And that's a deal that came in after we recorded last week, which is Caden Ellis, 3 years, like $33 million. So you're talking $11 million a season at linebacker.
And I got a lot of folks complaining because that's what DeMario got from the Jets. And I'm like, obviously there wasn't that connection between the two then.
Well, I mean, DeMario's 37 years old. Yeah. Like, if you're going to pay DeMario, it's because it's a good deal for you. You're not paying, like, what's the option? Okay, I can pay 37-year-old DeMario Davis $11 million for 2 seasons, or I can pay 30-year-old Caden Ellis, who has a lot of tread left on the tires for a 30-year-old linebacker. He didn't get into the league until he was age 24. He didn't really start games until it was his 4th season in the NFL, around his age 27, 28 season. And so the years before that, obviously there was the rookie season he lost due to injury. And then he was kind of behind DeMario. So, I mean, just in terms of snaps played, you're talking about a very, very much younger body. And that just makes sense. Also, I think Caden has the flexibility to be a pass rusher in Brandon Staley's defense in a way that DeMario was never going to be. And this is Kellen Moore talking about Caden Ellis when we spoke with him on Thursday.
With Caden, you start with the film. You start with the film of, hey, I've played this guy 3 times the last 2 years, once in Philly, twice last year. He's a pain in the butt. It's not fun to play against him. He's got this position flexibility to be an off-the-ball linebacker. He can rush the passer on 3rd downs. It's hard if running backs are having to protect against him. He's going to win those matchups most of the time. And he's a really smart, heady player. And so you love the film. And then the character and the leadership and all the things that he brings to the table. And I think, fortunate for our building knows him really, really well. He knows this building and this community really well. And so I think that was a benefit for us and for him to make sure that this was going to be an awesome fit. And so, I'm excited about this. We don't have to play him anymore. And so we'll keep it going.
And just as a quick follow-up, just as with this defense, with Brandon's defense and the coverage ability, because we know we can rush the passer and make tackles, but the coverage ability, which he's shown big time in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think he's a really smart, aware player. He understands the spacing of the football game. He understands patterns. He understands matchups. He understands how that, you just don't ever see him put himself in a challenging situation or a compromised situation. He's just such a smart player. And so, with Brandon's scheme, I think, the ability to rush from the linebacker level, I think, is going to be a huge asset on 3rd downs in those passing situations. And that's something that Caden's been doing the last few years. And so I think it's going to translate really, really well.
What Caden allows for this defense is, you have a guy you like in Pete Werner, which I know Pete Werner's kind of climbing up onto that like wheel of hate with Cesar Ruiz and Juwan. And I don't know why. Like, I actually like Pete Werner. I think he is kind of a guy who can be a flexible player for you, especially in a more featured role. But what it allows for you to do is, in a league that's trying to force you into base personnel a lot more often, you can have 2 athletic linebackers and kind of that 3rd Sam linebacker on the field, and who's more of a pass rusher. Because Caden would tell you he's a pass rusher at heart. And his dad, go ahead.
I was just smiling because I was thinking about, people, you don't know why people hate Pete Warner. I remember times like there was hate for Mark Ingram. There was hate for Roman Harper. And it's like, huh?
Yeah, you got to pick somebody, and I get it. Like, he's a second-round pick. Maybe hasn't produced as much. I'm eager to see what Pete can do outside of DeMario's shadow. And that's not to say DeMario was holding him back, but I think when you have DeMario Davis and he is the focal point of your entire defense, it can lead to guys getting kind of lost in the background. I mean, one thing that Caden said, and it's 100% correct, is like one of the truly remarkable things about DeMario Davis' career is how long he has been able to fend off very talented players, right? Like you look at Zach Bond going to Philadelphia and immediately being a player of the year candidate. You look at what Caden has done with the Falcons the last 3 years, right? Like he has been able to completely fend those guys off way longer than the Saints probably expected, right? Like you're investing in his eventual replacement, but he never gets replaced.
It was like, everyone complaining, why didn't they have a succession plan for Drew Brees? Well, it's hard to replace that guy.
It's not only hard to replace that guy, but it's also hard to have someone in there at the right time. Like you got to time it correctly. Right. Or move on prematurely. And that's just a tough thing to do. Right. Like the Packers have done it multiple times. So they kind of give you the blueprint for how it's done. But those are both those exits were very uncomfortable for Brett Favre, for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Saints wanted to do that with Drew. And if they were going to do it, it had to be perfect. Like it had to be like that Pat Mahomes level prospect.
Right.
And that usually means investing a first round pick, which is also tough to do when you have a guy who you think you can go win a Super Bowl with, and you're not investing that first round pick in something that can help him win that Super Bowl. Like the Saints were never going to do that. So anyway, but they were trying to replace DeMario. They just couldn't get the timing right because he just never aged. He's just still there. And I'm sure he's going to be great with the Jets. I don't know what the Jets ceiling is or if he can raise it enough, but I'm sure he's going to be great over there.
I understand money, but the whole situation going back to the Jets for a third time. I wish you the best, DeMario, but I just don't understand.
Well, I mean, the Saints offer must have been significantly less.
Right.
Now, my guess would be, they would probably have been willing to do a second year, but like an unguaranteed second year. And so you'd be talking about probably a 1-year deal effectively for like $7 million would be my guess, and something in that range. And he was able to clear that by a lot. I also think it was going to be a situation where, hey, we're gonna de-emphasize your role a little bit. Like we have these young players. Like this team wants to play young players. And the same thing's going on with Cam right now, right? Cam hasn't signed anywhere. And you don't think that if he had a contract offer out there that was lucrative enough, like DeMario's was with the Jets, that he'd be going to that team?
It's a little odd, Jeff. We haven't even gotten like the little Cam's going to visit Arizona for a workout. We haven't even gotten to that.
I don't think that there's a lot on the market for Cam. And I do believe that there's an offer from the Saints. It's just not anything that he wants. So I think the longer it goes on, the more likely he comes back on a team-friendly deal.
Right. No, I mean, for me, definitely when they were doing exit interviews, what stood out was when Cam was like, I took a discount this past season. I'm not going to do that again. And I knew it was going to be a little contentious going into this offseason.
Yeah, and the problem with that is the Saints did not view that deal as half off. Right? Like, Cam wants to be paid as a 10-sack player because that's what he was last year. But I don't think there's a team out there in the NFL that's like, we're going to sign this guy and he's going to get 10 sacks.
3-year deal.
Yeah, so we'll find out. But I also think the Saints in general went into this offseason perfectly fine with eating all that dead money, which they have done, and moving forward with a younger core. Like, you're not going to overpay. Like, I think that's where the change in philosophy has been this year. You're not going to overpay a guy just so you can push their cap hit down the line. That doesn't make sense on your timeline. And if you can keep them around, great. If not, that's just what you do. And it's long past time. That's what I was talking about before free agency even started. It's long past time that they get onto that train because it's leaving the station whether they're on it or not.
And I fully believe, I understand too with like maybe, you got to like Brandon Staley's like, I want to reshape this defense into my vision, not what it used to be. And those guys are too, DeMario and Kamara, the used to be's here. You know what I'm saying with that? They're not like, they're definitely later on in their careers, but that was a different regime, a different time.
Yeah, I think I'd phrase it more like you're not beholden to them anymore. Like you're willing to have them, but on your terms and not theirs. And a lot of times when you say that means they're going to go out of town on their terms. And I think that's what's kind of happening right now. The difference between the thing with Cam though, is like, you still haven't signed a replacement for him. And until they do that, until they find another veteran edge rusher on the market somewhere, I'm still kind of believing that there's a situationship to be brought back to, if that makes sense, because that's a need. Like they're not in a good spot from an edge rusher perspective right now.
And if he's not re-signed, what are these schools going to do on Tuesdays with no Cam going around?
I think he'll still do the school visits. They'll have to do if he leaves town. That's one thing. If he's still, if he just retires. But all right, let's take a quick break and come back. I want to talk about some of the takeaways from our one-on-ones on Thursday. Again, Jeff Nowak. This is Inside Black and Gold. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. You can follow Steve at Steve Geller WABL. You can follow the show at Saints_pod. And until then, stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here alongside Steve Geller. And we're going into kind of our takeaways from the one-on-one interviews that we did with all the Saints free agents plus Dylan Radins. It was a big day. It was a lot of new players. Like last year, it was kind of like, hey, Justin Reed, Devon Gotcha. You signed 2 players, and both were homecoming stories, but neither was like a big-time homecoming story in the sense of like they were kind of mid-market guys. This year, you signed 5 players, 2 of them at the top of the market, and one of them probably one of the most exciting signings you've made in a while in Travis Etienne. Like I can't think of a more exciting addition in terms of what your expectations are for them to provide this offense. But, we're going to hear our interview with Travis Etienne in a minute, but like, I think like he's going to be a focal point of this offense. And I don't know, I can't think of the last time you could say that about a free agent signing.
Brought it up before, the top of the market here. You're really looking at the Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker, as maybe the top running back that was going to be on the market. And surprisingly, he didn't keep his talents in Seattle. But yeah, for the Saints swinging that large to me at the running back slot said a lot too about what was definitely missing from this squad last year.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I still can't quite figure out why you wouldn't franchise tag Kenneth Walker if you're the Seahawks. It doesn't make sense to me. They have the money. So I don't know. Maybe that's a red flag. If I'm a team that's going to the top of the market for Kenneth Walker and you're like, well, how did that happen? But hey, it is what it is. The Jaguars didn't franchise tag Travis Etienne either. They did pick up his 5th-year option a year ago.
And we know we found out from him too, Denver and Kansas City was interested.
Yeah, and it sounds like Denver and Kansas City were in on everybody.
Right.
But what you appreciate about him and what I think this team has really leaned into, whether it's intentional or it's just what's happening, is team players want to come home. They want to come back to Louisiana for reasons that you can understand. It's a very special place, particularly if you're talking about food. And, these guys are just excited to come home, right? Travis Etienne is able to finally say his name correctly and do all that. I do wonder whether everyone's talked about Travis Etienne. No one has mentioned whether Trevor is going to beat Etienne or Etienne next year with the Panthers. And that's going to be kind of fascinating. Call me Etienne over here. But no, the question becomes, is it going to be a Travis Etienne led backfield, or is it going to be a tandem backfield with Alvin Kamara?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone knows.
I'm hoping it is. That would be fire.
I am too. A lot of people have kind of quit on Alvin coming back.
Why?
I don't know. And I get he was very ineffective last year, but I think with a kind of renewed focus on the offensive line, David Edwards is going to seriously upgrade your run blocking. Eric McCoy should be back. and hopefully he can stay on the field. Cesar Ruiz needs to get his shit together as a run blocker. I think it was fine as a pass protector. It's the run blocking that really stunk it up with him. But why not have a tandem with Alvin and Etienne? Like, why wouldn't that be a good scenario? So Kellen Moore's answer on Alvin Kamara kind of got a lot of attention.
Very vague.
This is what he said to us when we asked him about it.
Etienne, the running back room has a lot of names in it. Yep. What can you share about Alvin Kamara and his situation and how he kind of fits into that group?
Yeah, obviously we love Alvin, and so he's meant a lot to this organization, and certainly that's a process we'll go through as we go through this whole offseason. I think the most important part of this thing was just kind of going through the early stages of free agency, which is the busy part of this thing, and then it slows down. You're able to kind of evaluate this thing, and so obviously Alvin's meant a lot to us. We think the world of Alvin, and so we'll go through that process as we go.
Yeah, to me, it's like Kellen's very good at dancing around it, and we still have no idea what the heck's happening with Alvin.
What he's said multiple times in different ways, and I think people are reacting to, is there really hasn't been a decision one way or the other, right? Like, you knew you needed to add a running back,
right? So
you've done that. You were not going to go into next season with Alvin Kamara as your lead back. You just weren't going to do it. Whether he's back or not, you weren't going to do that. The restructuring of his deal and pushing that forward as kind of an option bonus, that was long in the works. They decided last year they were going to do that. They had to, because they set it up from last year, how they were going to do it this year. So it's not like that was a last second thing. Like, that was a long held plan that they were going to use. And I know it's like everyone wants an answer. Are they or aren't they? But I think at this stage, there has been no determination made. And that's why you're kind of, there's an information void, and everyone wants to fill it with whatever's the most logical solution.
Right. It's more of we're waiting on Alvin for an answer.
Yes. I think that is a big part of this, is you're going to go forward over the next few months, and you're going to find out where exactly Alvin's head is at. And then you're going to make your plan around that. You're in no rush to get it done. You're in no rush to say, get him out of here. I think that, and Travis kind of talked about this in his podium interview, not in the interview with us, but like, he would be perfectly fine playing tandem with Alvin and however it's set up. And I think Alvin, if I'm Alvin, the question is, am I going to retire? Or am I going to come back for one more season? Because he's already said he doesn't want to get traded. Maybe that changes. I don't think it will. And the bigger question inside of that is, are you willing to allow your Saints career to end on a hip drop tackle against the Falcons, where you get, you come off the field hurt and you never have that kind of farewell tour?
See, I know he said he'd retire before. I just can't believe, if it's not even with the Saints, AK's done with football.
I can. I mean, it's a job for him. It's always been a job for him. He's really good at that job, but it's a job for him. I think that his legacy matters to him, and retiring this year would kind of feel like being pushed out the door. If it came down to they were going to cut him, then I think he would probably retire rather than be cut. I'm speaking for him. This is me kind of just, reading tea leaves, but
you don't think he'd try to win a ring with Sean in Denver?
No.
Wow.
I don't. I mean, I guess I'm not saying he wouldn't, but like, I just don't think that's something. He's never been the ring chasing type. I also don't know, like, why would they spent a good amount of money to bring J.K. Dobbins back. Like, why would Denver be in on it? So I don't know. Like,
I just connect obviously the relationship with him and Sean Payton. So immediately I think Denver. I think that with most former Saints, I guess.
Either way, like, if it was up to me, I'm hoping that I can keep Alvin around for this season and have that kind of tandem backfield with really good depth behind him and Devin Neal and whoever else. And then after this year,
is Estime not under contract right now?
He's under contract, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you have Audric Estime, Devin Neal, and Kendre Miller.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, like, whatever your depth is behind him, it's good depth. Like, I like that depth. Yeah. I don't want them to be my starters, but I like that depth. So if, you have that tandem and suddenly one of those guys gets hurt, then it's not just oh, Alvin's your only back. Now you have a good group of depth behind him that you can kind of plug in. So I don't know. Like I see this offense as being better with Alvin in it, not as the bell cow, but as kind of a weapon, a veteran presence, a leader.
I still want to see more. I mean, I don't think that the old father time is officially passed him by totally.
I'd like to give him one more chance to prove that it hasn't.
Right.
And I'd like to give him good blocking to do that with.
Here.
Like, I think what we saw from Alvin last year is he's officially past the point that he can make a bad situation look good by himself. I do think he is still capable of playing behind an effective offensive line and having success with it, especially when you're not asking him to do too much. You're not giving him 20 touches a game. You're giving him 10 touches a game. So he's fresh, right? I also think that Travis is a good pass protector, so I don't have to ask Alvin to do it as much.
Both guys too good in the receiving game. I don't know.
What if Alvin turns into your third down back, right? Like, why? Wouldn't you see that as like positive situation for him? You know, and he can get back to kind of his receiving, and he hasn't been as reliable as a pass catcher, but I don't know. And all this is to say, kind of loop back around. In talking to Travis, I don't think he has a problem with that whatsoever. I think he would love that. He's come up watching Alvin. Alvin's been a dude that he's idolized. You don't think he'd want to be a teammate? So I think that would work. And it's really a question to me of whether Alvin wants to continue playing or not.
From the limited interaction we did have with Etienne, yeah, I don't think his personality is like that. And we know for sure Alvin's definitely not like that. I think they would vibe together great.
I agree. And, you know, I one thing that stood out, especially from like you mentioned with Noah Fant, and David Edwards talked about this too. Even Dylan Radins talked about this when we asked him about kind of the rookies and him and Chuck and Banks. It's like when you have a quarterback that whether it's true or not, whether it's an actual scenario or a believed scenario, like when you have a quarterback that people think is like worth playing, like has a chance to be something, even if they're not there yet, it's so much easier to sign free agents. It's so much easier to sign free. Like, think about Noah Fant last year. Like, the Saints were trying to get Noah Fant last year. They couldn't do it. Why? He had a choice to go sign with the Saints and play with whoever their quarterback was, or go to Cincinnati and play with Joe Burrow. It obviously didn't work out in Cincinnati because of the injury, and Noah didn't have a great year either. I don't know how much of that was due to the kind of inconsistency at quarterback. But think about it. Like, even if he loved Tyler Shuck and wanted to play with Tyler Shuck, he didn't even know Tyler Shuck was going to be the quarterback last year. So you're signing on to a situation that you don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. Could be great, but you don't know. This year, you at least know who's going to be there. You feel like, man, what he was able to do with that team late in the year, what if you add me to that mix? You know? Right.
Plus, even last year, not just Burrow, it's like, oh, I got Chase on that side, I got Higgins over there, and I'm going to be the tight end. Sure.
Yeah. And from the Saints' perspective, I think one of the values of adding Noah Fant is he's a little redundant with Juwan Johnson, but I think he's a better inline player. He's a slightly better blocker.
I agree with that.
He can do a lot of the same things. I think Juwan's probably a slightly better pass catcher. He came up as a wide receiver.
Right.
But what it allows you to do is have those guys on the field at the same time. Wherever you want to align Juwan Johnson, you can have Noah Fant in line, or you can flip them. You can have some versatility that way. But then beyond that, if you end up having to be without Juwan Johnson for any period of time, you have a viable replacement that you can still run your offense with. Whereas last year, like, they lucked out in Juwan being available all 17 games. And I think there was a period of time where he had kind of an ankle injury and he was playing through it. In Buffalo, week 4, he hurt his ankle. He was on the injury report for a while. He had kind of a slow stretch in the season where he didn't really do much. I think he was playing hurt, but you didn't have anyone to even make a primary. Whereas this year, if that were to happen, you could say, hey, we're going to give Noah Fant the run and let him kind of be that featured player in the receiving game. And suddenly your offense doesn't slow down the way it definitely did from like weeks 6 through 8 last year, you know? So I really like that addition.
Yeah. I love the fact too, when, talking to him, he mentions the fact that I know I necessarily haven't lived up to my expectations yet, and he's still pushing.
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, and he's been solid. But you don't draft a tight end in the first round and look for Juwan Johnson production, because that's what it's been. He's been as productive as Juwan Johnson.
You've mentioned it so many times. It seems like those first-round tight ends don't get the production you want from them until they sign elsewhere.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the funniest one is Hayden Hurst, who retired this year.
Yeah.
He was a first-round pick of the Ravens. Now, they had Mark Andrews. They ended up with Mark Andrews, so it didn't really mind all that much. But yeah, it's tough. There's not a first-round running backs, first-round tight ends can be a real tough scenario. But there's so many examples of second, third, fourth-round tight ends being really, really good. Anyway, so all that is to say, like, even David Edwards, like, I'm excited to see David Edwards. I think he's going to end up being kind of a spokesperson for that offensive line group in a way that we have not seen. And like James Hurst was that too, but like, it's a lot easier to be that when you're also kind of a star of that group. And I think I really like David. I'm excited for people to get to know David Edwards more, and especially to watch him, because I wouldn't call him a mauler. I'd call him a technician as an offensive guard. And I don't know if they've had that. Like, they were just relying on sheer will last year with Penning, and it did not work. Like, but he has a plan. He goes out there, he executes it. He's not relying on athleticism or momentum or whatever. He's using his hands. He's setting up defenders. Like, he really likes to kind of use his hands and like swipe early and clear the defender's hands. Like, I watched a good bit of David Edwards tape last week, and that's one of the things he does a lot is he catches the rusher out front, he swipes their hand and forces them to miss, and then they end up kind of wrapping around him, and then he's able to close that space and kind of drive him out. You're not going to pancake a lot of people that way, but they're not going to be able to do anything when you're body on body. And it's just kind of interesting to watch, because it's like, yeah, that's someone thinking through the game, not just reacting. And at guard, you really want to do that because it's a much quicker position. Like, they're on you a lot faster. You don't have time to kind of set and catch the way a tackle does, where you're kind of like, oh, I got to get out of my stance. So he can be aggressive. He can go after him. He can use his hands. And that's how you're effective in the run game, right? Where you're not getting driven back. Like, rarely do you see him get beat and like driven back and like, oh, he didn't get blown by, but he did muck up a run lane because he got driven back 3 feet. He's a really solid player. And the Saints are very excited to have him.
Love the fact, too, he's been working with a guy that's, Josh Allen in Buffalo, and a lot of people have liked to compare Tyler Shuck to Josh Allen. So maybe he can help impart some of that maybe regular season greatness, I'll say, from Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's played with a lot of good quarterbacks. I think when he was drafted, they had Goff. And then they traded for Stafford. He won the Super Bowl with the Rams with Stafford, played every game that year. He had a bunch of concussions the following year. And that's why you look at his contract history and you're talking about, like, he signed in Buffalo on basically a minimum contract, a 1-year minimum contract. Then the next year it was like a 2-year, $6 million contract. And he played so well that he hit the free agent market, and suddenly it's a $61 million contract, 4 years, $61 million. So like, that's very telling of the situation. And like, Buffalo would have loved to retain him. They couldn't afford him.
Thanks,
and
Buffalo.
Like, so, and why does he end up here? Right? There's a few reasons, but Ryan Ramczyk, Will Clapp, 2 guys. One guy he played with in Buffalo, one guy he played with at Wisconsin. They were bookends of that Wisconsin offensive line. And whether you believe him or not, like, he said that one of the reasons he ended up here was because every single person he talked to about the Saints organization would only have positive things to say. And so he hit the free agent market, and he was like, well, okay, they're going to pay me, and I feel like I understand that organization.
Even better than the report cards and what they're telling the NFLPA. Just talk to the former players. They'll let you know.
Yeah, a lot of former Saints coaches that he's worked with. I know he worked with Kevin Carberry, Aaron Kromer with the Rams and the Bills.
Right.
So, yeah, no, excited about that. And we'll play. That's probably the interview we'll play in our next episode, so you guys can get a load of that. And I think you're going to end up watching these podium interviews right after games. I think he's going to end up being one of those guys that goes out there a lot. because like Eric McCoy's the leader of that group, but he's never been a kind of a spokesperson for the group. Like he's not he's okay with the media, but he doesn't really like it. I think David likes it.
Yeah, it was definitely when I heard him talk as well. It was definitely this guy going to be in the running for like the media award yearly. For the best access in the locker room.
100%. And yeah, and then we already talked a lot about Caden Ellis, but Caden's is like the vibe I got from both him and Travis were just like so excited to be back in Louisiana.
Yeah,
and it's just so funny. Like I can't. It's got to be such a weird vibe to be like, I play for the Saints. I hate the Falcons. I play for the Falcons. I hate the Saints. I play for the Saints. I hate the Falcons again. Because we've seen it go the other way a lot. Like we've seen, Caden obviously went there. David Onyemata went there. We saw Bobby. We saw Morton Anderson. We saw there's been a good number of players that have gone from New Orleans to Atlanta.
Joe Horn, right?
But a lot fewer the other direction.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is.
And then to leave and come back.
Yeah. So I'm excited about a lot of this, and I'm excited about this team. I think like there's a real positive vibe around this group, and whether that turns into wins or not, it's like you go around the league, and I don't know how, at this time of year everything's positive, like there's nothing negative happening, but like I don't know, like this, I did not get this vibe around. Like there was always a lot of questions over the last 4 or 5 years of like, what about this guy? What about this guy? Will this guy work with this guy? Do you have a coach? Do you have a GM? Do you have a quarterback? I kind of feel like they have all that right now.
It's definitely a nice, I don't want to say a weight, but it's just a definite momentum you're feeling going into year. Not, I guess, bracing for so many bullets coming your way because, yeah, it's rough. It's been rough covering a team that hasn't been a legitimate playoff contender, and you're going into this year there's a lot more reasons why you believe the Saints could win the NFC South, and a large part of that is you think Tyler Shuck is the guy.
But there's also pressure with that too. Like you got to deliver
for sure.
On. And now the pressure isn't to go 12-4 or 12-5 and be a 1 seed, but there is pressure to deliver a competitive season. And if they don't win 10 games, I think I'd be disappointed in that. But we'll have to wait and see. And that's probably overreacting right now. I just think like a lot of the stars have aligned in a way that is really positive for this team, and I think they're out of cap hell, which they're all these contracts, not a single void year.
People are losing their minds on social media over that.
Not one void year, which is just like, wow, good for us. And the impact of that is, so several of these were 4-year contracts, and that's kind of the, you're not using a void year, but you are adding a 4th year to spread out the cap hit. But what the lack of void years allows you to do is in the accounting, you're actually taking it all straight up. Like you're not kind of faking the numbers. Right? Like you can look at it and say, hey, I could cut this guy for this amount of money. I could trade this guy for this amount of money. And you're not being like, but then I have to eat this. So this dead cap hit chart hits. And like, that'll be the case if they continue to push their chips to the center of the table. But that's why you look at the cap table for the next year and the year after that. And it's not this crazy dead money hit like it could have been.
It's a whole new feeling, era, whatever you want to say for the Saints right now. You really did rip the Band-Aid off with, getting rid of the DA kind of regime and any past Sean Payton, relevance. It's definitely a whole new day with the Kellen Moore era. It feels like
we're back, baby.
I hope so. I'm ready for playoff football, Jeff.
I am too. But all right, let's hit a break. We're going to come back and play that one-on-one interview that we did with Travis Etienne. Talked about how he ended up with the Saints. Talked about what he said to his brother, Trevor, when he signed, all that good stuff. Who dat? Go Saints. Make sure to subscribe. We'll be right back.
Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller here with new Saints running back Travis Etienne. A lot of excitement about this signing. I know there's a lot of excitement on your end, homecoming. Just talk about how this all came together, how excited you are to come back to Louisiana.
I'm very excited. I mean, just everyone who played a role in this was, I'm just real grateful for. I want to thank Mrs. Benson, Mr. Mickey, Mr. Kai, Coach Moore, and my agent Kennard. They really made this transition real smooth and easy for me. And man, I never could have dreamed this, but I'm just happy that I'm sitting here in this moment.
I mean, did you know kind of going into free agency that this was a potential landing spot for you, or was that kind of just something that came about in the process?
It was something that came about in the process, honestly. It just kind of happened crazy. I was thinking Chiefs. I was thinking Chiefs and the Broncos because those kind of teams that were showing interest. But then when the Saints show interest, definitely, like me being from here, I was interested and open. And then just talking with the guys and just communicating back and forth, it made it real clear where I wanted to be.
Growing up in your football career, who would you say or what was your biggest influence?
It's crazy that you asked that because growing up in my football career, I would say it was really like guys that I just like idolized like around my hometown. I had a cousin who played football. I had two great running backs at my high school, and I wouldn't say Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush. Just seeing that duo, and I feel like the things they did, and I would say really more Deuce McAllister. I really love just the way that he ran, and I feel like he never really got the credit that he deserved, but just being a running back, I feel like they're the reason I wanted to play this position and to be able to just be here and chase their ghosts. I feel like I could never ask for more.
We had Deuce on WWL a few days ago when he was asked about your signing. He said the big thing for him was explosive plays. When you look at your career and all these big runs, would you consider yourself to be kind of an explosive player? And what is it with your game that has allowed you to, I think it was 3 runs of 40-plus yards last year. Like, what is it that allows you to get those big gains?
I'll say what is it that allows me to get those big gains? Really just being able to do it all, You definitely have those explosive plays, but those explosive plays comes from just taking just doing the routine play correctly. I feel like just reading my keys. That's how that's supposed to come. Whenever you go out there and you're looking and you're chasing for explosives, it doesn't come to you in this league because the other side of the ball, the players are great. They get paid a lot of money too to play this game of football that we all love. So it's more of just believing in my teammates, just all 11 working as one. The receivers getting their guys on the perimeter, the offensive line blocking up their guys. So it's not just me. It takes all 11, and I'm just grateful for the teammates that I have, and just seeing a line of things that we got around here. I know there's going to be a lot more explosives, and we got the receivers, we got the selfless guys. So those explosive plays come from the team just being selfless and everybody working together.
Saints fans are some of the most passionate in the NFL. What are you most looking forward to about game day at home in that Superdome?
Honestly, just hearing the crowd roar, just seeing how they go crazy after the touchdown, just seeing how loud they get after a sack, just seeing the pressure that they put on other teams, because it is real. The noise is real, and I can't wait to hear it in the flesh.
Travis, your career has been interesting to watch because, obviously 2021, the injury, the surgery didn't, a really difficult way to start a career. And then you've been very durable since. I think you've missed 2 games in 4 years. What did you learn about yourself in that process? Because that's just, starting your career with a year on IR. It's a difficult thing, I think, mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm. So it was definitely tough. And it was definitely tough that year because just coming up and growing up until that injury, I never had an injury where I had to miss significant time, and just to go from dreaming about being Rookie of the Year to rehabbing the whole year is very difficult. But in that moment, I feel like I learned a lot about myself. I feel like I learned who was really in my corner. I feel like I learned who really helped me get to the point I was in my career. The people that I just learned, like, it's about you and your circle. It doesn't matter about the outside noise. They're not the people who got you here. They're not people who want to keep you here. It's about the people who love you. Whether I go out there and get 40 yards and a touchdown or 120 yards and 0 touchdowns, people who are going to look at you the same and be happy. And you just have to self-reflect. And I also understood in that moment that it's no substitution for hard work. It was no way for me to get back but hard work and just fall in love with the mundane. And it was a tough process, but it was necessary in order for me to grow and just to reach the levels that I have and to be able to sustain growth. And I feel like I'm grateful for that.
For you, year one now, wearing black and gold, do you have any personal goals going into this season?
Yes, sir. Personal goals. I want a Super Bowl. I feel like that's the only real personal goal. My personal goal ties into the team goals, and I feel like that's why I've been successful in my career because it's never been about me. It's always been about the main goal, and I feel like, man. Just my 4 or 5 years in the league, I've kind of had like success individually, but I feel like nothing's better than that playoff atmosphere. That playoff feeling just with the guys. Yeah, for sure. So we definitely want to get back there, because I feel like that's why we play the game. The accolades are a byproduct of winning football games and being a great team. But whenever you're a great team, you're brought in and you're winning. And you're chasing greatness. We're chasing legacy here, and I feel like that's what I sense from these guys. And having Kellen, who's been to there, who's won it, who's seen it. He has a blueprint for us. So it's really easy to believe and get behind that. And I would say that's really my goal. That 0 fumbles and 0 hits on the QB.
0 fumbles is always a good place to start. How familiar are you with Kellen Moore's offense? And you talked about it a little bit there, and also Tyler Shuck. Obviously, 9 games last year. It feels like he's kind of on the upswing. Like, what do you know about him? Have you talked to him at all? Like, what is your familiarity with the Saints right now?
So right now, really, I've seen Kellen offense from a distance, but I haven't really tapped into it. But I'm pretty sure I'll be watching. I'll be watching highlights and stuff all day whenever I leave here. I feel like just being around energy just got me excited to play football. I was kind of like. Past few weeks, I'm like, man, I don't have a job. But now I have a job secure, and I'm just really happy, But I love Tyler, man. We went to dinner last night. Just his energy. I feel like he's hungry. And when you can sense that hunger from the quarterback, it's a great feeling. And that directly ties into everyone else. So if our leader is hungry, we have no choice but to be hungry. And it makes everyone – it just makes for a better product on Sunday because we're all out there fighting for one thing, and that's a W. That's a victory. And – we don't care how we get it. As long as we get the W, that's all that matters. And we just got to understand, just keep stacking those each and every Sunday and just picking at the right time. Like you say, I feel like Tyler, he really came on later in the season. And I feel like that's just in the NFL, you grow through growing pains. Like you grow through being in those situations. Like you can't imitate that game speed, or you can't it don't just happen for you. Everyone has to go through that learning curve, and I feel like it's great that he went through it this year. So next year, he kind of have a baseline of where he's going to start. But sky's the limit for him. You can just tell by the way that he's approaches it, the way that he loves the game, and how the coaches believe in him. And that's a real good tell sign that you have a good QB.
I got you. Last question. You come to the NFC South. Trevor's already hanging out in the NFC South over with the Panthers. How excited are you for those matchups?
I'm very excited. I think the first thing I told him though, I hope y'all get a good wild card spot because the division is ours. I feel like that's another thing. Like, man, it's something like I could have never dreamed of. Like, just having an opportunity to play my brother last year was just a dream come true for me, and that was more than enough. But to be able to see him twice a year, I feel like that's going to be a great accomplishment. It's going to be a good family rivalry, And I'm 1-0. I'm undefeated, and I love to keep it that way.
All right. Again, Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller here with Travis Etienne, new Saints running back, Louisiana homecoming. Appreciate it, man. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
And we are back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here alongside Steve Geller. And one more quick segment. And I think what we can do is kind of re-rank the team needs as we go forward. And whether that is heading into free agency and signing more players, or looking at the draft and saying, hey, when you get on the clock at 8, suddenly this is the new list of needs. That's where we're going to go. But positions they've addressed: left guard, running back, linebacker, punter, tight end. So that's kind of what I moved to the bottom of my list. And to me, once you stop talking about starters and you start talking about depth, you are no longer talking about a need. You are talking about a want. Every team wants depth. Every team needs starters. So all that is to say, Steve, like if you were looking at this team and you were saying, what is the biggest position of need remaining? What would it be?
I would say with the departure of Alontae Taylor, I am now looking for that next star, nickel, slot, whatever position you want to call it.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
That's the most important.
Because that's the only position I look at and say,
I don't know.
They just don't have a starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like who's playing it? And you could look at it and say, well, one of Jonas Sanker, one of Julian Blackman is going to be in there, but that's a lot of eggs in one basket for a guy like Jonas Sanker who I've never seen play that position at the NFL level. What if he gets hurt? What if it just doesn't work out? What if you go into camp, it's just a failure? Right. You're just going to stick with that? I don't know. Like, I still like an Amik Robertson. I don't think he's signed anywhere. Or did he sign with the Commanders?
We'll take him off the board.
2 years, $16 million deal with the Commanders. That's probably more than I was going to be willing to pay. And you'll see, like, do you address that in free agency? Do you bring in a veteran option? Do you ride with the guys you have? Do you go into the draft and maybe, look at a second, third round pick at that position and see what happens? I think cornerback depth as well is also a factor. So could you draft a guy that you plan to play at multiple positions and go that way? But I agree with you. Like, that's the number one position on that list because you just don't have anyone there.
Honestly, and not too far away from me, Jeff, is just a nose tackle because I don't know what's going on with Godchow, and I haven't seen obviously enough of Christian Boyd.
Yeah, I mean, Godchow is going to be back. I don't think there's anything going on in the sense that he's like an issue. Like, he'll play one more year, but he's on the final year of that contract. I think, to me, like, I have defensive tackle. I have it pretty high on my list, but I think that's a draft thing. Like, I think that's where you address, because I look at it and say, man, if like Caleb Banks drops because of his injury and I can get him at 42, I'm taking Caleb Banks at 42. Like,
plus, I just don't think the defensive tackle market is really booming either.
No, I also have Vernon Broughton. Huh?
The free agent market, I don't think, is really booming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ton of great names out there, but I'm also bringing back Vernon Broughton.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a developmental player who's kind of in that system. I have a couple veterans, so I don't feel like I need to sign a player to play right away. And when I feel that way, I can be a little bit more patient. And even if I don't get a defensive tackle in the draft, I could probably find someone down the line to kind of, like, they didn't land Jonathan Bullard until late in the offseason. So there'll be guys down the line that you can bring in. But if I end up with a Caleb Banks in the second round, or, whoever it is, right? Then I feel like, okay, Vernon Broughton is kind of my young guy. I have Brian Brzee on the last year of his contract. If they don't pick up the option, which I don't think they will, I'd be surprised if they do. That doesn't mean they won't re-sign him, but they'll probably try to re-sign him at a lower number. So, like, I have pieces. I don't love any of them, but I can make that work for now. And that might be a position that we go into next offseason saying, okay, that's the position where you're going to spend big money at, Whereas, like, this year, that wasn't really the case because you had, you needed a guard, you needed a running back. Like, next year, that might be, well, okay, just go find a guy. Because it was an issue last year.
Yeah, and like I said, I just don't know how much Godchow has really left. I know his usage really became sparse, I feel like, the end of the year.
I think that was more about the personnel packages you were going against and the okay. When you're a nickel, he's not out there. And I think they were playing a lot of nickel at the end of last year. But he's not a premium option, but he at least gives you someone you can put on that starting line and say, like, he's a guy for now. Edge rusher, I think, is a more, I don't want to say bigger need. I think defensive tackle is probably a bigger need, but it's a more pressing need in the sense that I think it's one that you probably want to handle in free agency. Because I just, like, if none of those edge rushers are on the board by 8,
right,
and I don't bring back Cam Jordan, am I going into next season saying my rotation is Chase Young, Carl Granderson, and Chris Rumpf? And whatever rookie I bring in? I don't know if I like that. And that's why I kind of think Cam Jordan's going to be back, because it just makes more sense for him to be here in a defense that he understands and has had success in. If you're gonna sign a mid-tier free agent, why not Cam? Like, who else is out there on the market that you would prefer? Because I do think they need to bring somebody in. Because I think
I'm trying to think of. They also have what's his name, Fadil Diggs in the mix.
the 7th round pick for like he can't be the solution. He can be a piece that he can compete, but I think in Brandon Staley's defense, he loves to have a rotation. It's not just these guys roll out there on every snap and rush the passer, play defense or play the run, whatever. Like, he wants to have a rotation and getting guys in and out. And I think you need like 3 or 4 viable guys to do that. And I got into kind of an argument about this, and I've debated a few people about it. Like, you can't look at it as saying they took the dead money from Cam, and if they sign him, they're paying him twice. Like, yeah, technically that's what's happening, but you're paying that $18 million dead cap either way. And the question isn't, okay, do you want to pay him twice? It's no, do you want to pay him again? Like, the new contract is completely separate from the old contract. And when you're comparing Cam's money, you have to compare him to the players that you would sign otherwise. Like, paying the $18 million dead cap charge and paying Cam is functionally the same as paying the $18 million dead cap charge and paying literally anybody else. So the question isn't, should I pay Cam twice? The question is it worth paying Cam once over another player X at that same number? Or if I have to pay more to that player, is it worth paying more? And vice versa. If I have to pay Cam more, is it worth paying the other guy less and having him be as productive? Because you're looking at guys like Joey Bosa, I think, is still out on the market, Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, Anthony Jennings, Clowney, I think, is still out there. Hassan Reddick is out there. Kyle Van Noy. Yeah, these are all older guys. So I think that's the question.
It's hard to quantify anything with Cam because I feel like we're definitely big fans of him and we'd love to have him around. And I think, for the right money deal too, I don't want the team to overpay to keep him around either.
No, but I mean, if I can get away with like a 1-year, $7 million contract, I'm doing that. Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's on the table and he wants more. One way or another, I think there is a free agent signing at the edge rusher position is kind of my larger point. And
I would think so too. And I just don't know Staley, like where he might look to in there, because obviously, like I said, I get that he's trying to reshape this thing in his mind. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is a big part of it. Moving forward, I have 2 more positions that you do need. And then the rest is kind of depth. One is like, I need a backup center.
No doubt.
Somebody. Anybody.
Luke's not around anymore, right?
It doesn't have to be a big name, but it does have to be a guy that if I end up having to play him, I'm okay with it. I'll put the bar at like Will Clapp or higher, right? Like, it needs to be someone who's at least played meaningful football at the center position. And I think that has to be a free agent. So,
you don't want to bring in a rookie. I mean, you would like, I'll take a rookie center somewhere in the draft, not early on, but I'm not looking for that kid to come in and be the backup right away.
Yeah, I don't mind drafting a center, but that's a lot, especially just knowing what we know about Eric McCoy. If like it turns out he just can't stay healthy, if it happens again, and suddenly I have half a season with this guy, he's got to be viable. It cannot be, like a couple years ago when you're going to try to find Connor McGovern on the Jets practice squad, and not the good Connor McGovern. That's me. I shouldn't say that, but one Connor McGovern is wildly more successful than the other Connor McGovern. One is the center for the Bills who got paid big time this year. Either way, like that, I don't want to go just trying to find scraps and throwing him in there and being like, good luck. Like, I can't be doing that.
I mean, it just gets accentuated even more because you're talking about center. There's no just throw him in there.
Yeah, and it's a very specialized position, right? Like, it's not hey, okay, I have a right guard. He could play left guard if I need to. And like, there's a good number of guards who can play center. Caesar could play center if you needed him to, but I don't think that's a viable plan either. So that's a need for me. And then wide receiver is up there on that list. And some people will have it a lot higher. I want to see one veteran at, a reasonable number. And then I'd like to see a draft pick. I don't think it has to be number 8, but I wouldn't hate a receiver at number 8.
I'd really like if you could get one in the second round that used to be Tyler Shuck's teammate.
Yeah, that one makes a lot of sense if you can get it done. And I do think that it would work for the Saints because, again, like I said, I don't think this need is as glaring as a lot of people are making it out to be, because you do have some question marks and guys who have reasonably high ceilings, right? Like I feel like I have a star player in Chris Olave. I feel like I have a big slot in Devon Vele. I feel like I have some question marks with Jalen Polk, with Trey Palmer, with Bub Maines. Can one of those guys be that kind of flanker on the opposite side and be a viable option? And if not, I can exist that way for as long as it takes, right? Like I don't need to draft a guy that's going to come in and play week 1.
Shoot, after that catch last year, I want to see more from Ronnie Bell, baby.
Well, you're skipping the part where he didn't catch 2 or 3 that were very similar. If he caught the one earlier, they might have won that game. But all right, I mean, there's some depth options. Like there's names behind the names, right? Like you still have Mason Tipton. You still have a few other guys. Kevin Austin's still around. Like there's people who can step in and contribute. Like you end up beset with injuries, like you do so much of the time. And these guys, you feel like, oh, he can step in and keep us afloat, whatever. I think they should add a viable, like long-term 2 if they can. But I don't think it's as big of a need as people make it out to be. Because it's like, it's like, oh, if Chris Olave gets hurt, suddenly, you don't have a good wide receiver room. But it's like, if the star wide receiver on any team gets hurt, it's not a good wide receiver room anymore. Like, that's just what happens. Unless you're the Bengals, in which case, you have receivers and nothing else. So
I'm with you on wide receiver just because I think there's a few guys that have been out of sight, out of mind for folks on the Saints wide receiver front.
And here's my thing. If you can run the ball, everything gets easier at the receiver position, right? Like if their safety has to come down and play the run, I can do so much more. It doesn't you have better players, great. But like so much of receivers getting open and being productive is symptomatic of a healthy offense. And it's really difficult to start with the wide receiver and make it work and then figure everything else out around it. It's you got to start with the difficult stuff, which is running the ball in between the tackles and forcing the defense to account for your run game with more than 6 players. Because once you can do that and you get one-on-one coverage, then the quality of receivers matter. I can take away your best receiver. I could do it. It's like if I don't have to devote extra hats to the run game, I can take away your best receiver because I can put 2-3 bodies on him. I think they're doing it the right way and focusing on the run game and free agency and if you find the guy in the draft, great. But
I mean, because I think that was one of the biggest complaints for me, and I think a lot of folks just last year was the inability or it looked so sloppy or it couldn't just get going at any time last year with that run game. Whoever was the running back, and I think, the offensive line issues along with whoever was in the backfield. You saw some hard running at the end of the year from some guys like an Audric Estime, but there was just the yards per carry I know was abysmal last season.
Yeah, and there weren't any explosive runs to make the numbers look better.
Right.
Like the numbers were bad. I think they were like 3.7 yards per carry as a team, which was 31st in the NFL. But that includes like quarterback runs, and that includes like if you look at just running back runs,
right.
It was an ugly picture. And they actually got better later in the year because you had some chunk runs from Devin Neal, you had a chunk run from Audric Estime, but you didn't have a single 40+ yard run. I can't remember the last time they did. It was probably Taysom Hill at some point. And you had 5 20+ yard runs, and only one of those was from a running back. You had 2 from Tyler Shuck. You had 1 from
Taysom.
Taysom Hill, and you had another one somewhere, but it wasn't from a running back. Travis Etienne, Travis Etienne, the artist formerly known as Etienne.
He can help with that yards per carry.
He had 7 of those on his own, 20-plus yard runs. He had 3 40-plus yard runs, and one of them was a 71-yard run. So, like, when you can just break off a chunk run, it makes everything look better, even if it's not solving your problem. But it's like when it's a threat to happen, the defense has to account for it. And it's just like you have not been able to threaten the defense in any way with the run game. So fixing that was a priority for the Saints this offseason. And I think they've done a good job. And now it's a matter of executing.
No, going back to, like I said, with the free agent signings for Achane, Edwards, and right at the punter, I'm like, those were 3 spots. I was like, I don't like what I was seeing last year. And they didn't either.
I'm excited about Ryan Wright. I think he's got the stuff. He has a
can't be worse.
Napalm.
Yeah, it can't be worse than those sorry Kai Kroger punts last year.
I just want consistency. I'll settle for consistency. Like, and here's the thing: like, people are like, oh, he can kick it 70 yards. I'm like, yeah, but you're not trying to kick it 70 yards. Like, you're trying to angle the ball and force a kicker or force a kick returner to field it close to the sideline, backpedaling ideally,
right?
And then they have and then you allow for the hang time and the coverage to get there. Like, if I kick a 70-yard, like, a lot of these guys could kick 60, 70-yard punts with 3 seconds of hang time. That's an 80-yard touchdown return. That's what that is. Now, he has a kick that he calls napalm, which is he's really good at angling kicks. He's been doing it his whole career. So a lot of times if a kick returner think he's going to kick it over here, I know it, and they cheat over to that side, and he sees that, he will flip his hips and just whale the ball with no hang time to the opposite side of the field where there's no returner. And that's why he had that 77-yard kick last year. That's what it was, is he caught the kick returner cheating, and he just boomed it past him, and then the ball bounces and bounces. And by that point, the returner can't field it because it's so far gone, and you're just hoping it rolls all the way into the end zone. In that case, I think it went to like the 1. So, like, it's just, that's what a veteran punter can do for you, is understand the job. And, it's not a very complex job, but there are elements to it that a guy who's been in the league a while can take advantage of and other guys can't. And I do think I'm just so excited to not be like, oh, like another 31-yarder from here's our weekly 31-yard boot.
I like how you put it, though, too. It's like he's now entering, year 5 in the league? So he's had 4 years of prior experience to get all the bugs out.
Yeah. Yeah. The bugs are now features, if you will. Like, he's worked in the bugs to his in the good ways.
Right.
He also really likes Brennan's. Likes his food. He's a big boy. He's like 6'3", 245. So he can make a tackle if you need him to.
And a former quarterback. I know you joked like most, high school NFLers that played in high school were quarterbacks, because it's usually your best player. But who knows? We could see Wright bring it down and throw a pass.
Well, we have seen it.
Yeah,
because it happened against the Saints in London.
Right.
And that was a big moment in that game. Like, that was a momentum swinging conversion. And, the Saints have converted a couple fake punts. I know Matt Hayball had one where he ran it against the Panthers, but it's kind of nice to know your punter can throw the ball. Like, it creates a scenario where they at least have to account for it. Because it's never a good look when you call a pass for your punter and he just like
looks spastic, right?
He throws it like I throw left-handed. Yeah. So good stuff. I'm sorry. I should have known better.
It's like banana ball in the background.
I always forget that that happens. Like, what if I do this? Oh, it's
rain clouds.
Now. Man. Okay.
No, it's a glorious day.
I think there's this one too.
Hang 10. The shocker.
That's not what that is. The rock on. There we go. There's a light show. I knew that was it. It thinks my microphone is in the background. All right. Well, now that show is over, anything else, Steve, before we close this thing out here?
No, man. I mean, we're in March now, and obviously right around the corner is draft time, but do expect the Saints to add some pieces here and there. Not being too active anymore, but I do think at least 2 more moves to be expected.
Yeah, and they have cap space, and they're gonna use it. There's only 2 restructures left on the table, and I don't think they're ones that they necessarily want to execute in Cesar Ruiz and Pete Werner, but that's where we are. But
and yeah, I'm on Kamara watch too, waiting to see his decision.
Kamara watch, Cam Jordan watch. Those are the 2 shoes left to drop. Although I don't think anything really has to happen with Kamara. I think that'll be down the line quite a ways. I think Cam Jordan's the headline that I'm kind of like on pins and needles waiting to come across on Twitter.
Yeah, I guess I definitely would expect Cam news before AK news.
Yeah. But all right. Who dat? Go Saints. Thanks everyone for hanging out. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. You can hit up Steve at Steve Geller WWL. You can hit up the show at Saints_pod. Like we said earlier, we'll be parceling out our exclusive interviews with the new Saints free agents. So the next episode will either play David Edwards or Caden Ellis. Maybe both. Maybe we'll go wild and play 2 in one episode. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, thanks everyone. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave us a review telling us what you want to see more of, what you think of the podcast as it is, and how we can make it better, because that's how we get feedback, and we definitely always take it positively.
Who dat, baby?
Who dat? Peace, y'all.